Thanks. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our community members who are present online watching via the live stream of this unscheduled council meeting for 11th of March 2025. Thank you all for joining us this evening. So this evening's unscheduled council meeting has been set up for a specific purpose, and there is one officer's report presented to us for a motion, which has arisen from the adjournment of our last council meeting on 18th of February, where, as we know, there were 3 outstanding reports to be considered. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge my fellow councillors who are joined online, as well as members of the executive team. We have Glenn Patterson, Chief Executive Officer, James Collins, the Director of City Planning and Infrastructure, Jen Bednar, Director of Customer and Corporate Services, Steve Coldham, Director of Community Life. We're also supported this evening by our Office of Council and also our audio-visual team. We have a number of other senior staff from Council also joining us online, so welcome to you all. I'll move on to item 1.1, which is our acknowledgement of country. So the City of Casey proudly acknowledges the traditional owners, Casey's Aboriginal communities and their rich culture, and pays respect to their elders past, present and future. We acknowledge Aboriginal people as Australia's first people and as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we work and live. Item 1.2, the reading of the diversity statement. The City of Casey is home to remarkable diversity with many cultures, languages, faiths and communities of worship, ages, LGBTIQ+ identities and landscapes, together forming our rich and dynamic community story. From our first Australians to our most recent arrivals and every wave between, the City of Casey welcomes and represents all community members and their respective ambitions to live healthy, rewarding and happy lives. We recognise this diversity as our strength and we aim to share, nurture and celebrate it. I'll move now to Declaration of Interests, which is item 2 on the agenda, and I will just now ask for all council officers and councillors to consider whether they have any conflict of interest regarding reports presented this evening. Do my fellow councillors have any conflicts of interest in the agenda they wish to declare? If you could please raise your hand if so. I'll take no hands raised as no conflicts of interest. Do any council officers have any conflicts of interest regarding reports this evening? I'll take no hands as no conflicts. And move on now to item 3. So officers' reports. There's one officer report presented to us by Manager of Communications and Corporate Governance, Miss Chloe Casey. So I'll now refer over to Miss Casey to speak to this item.
Thank you and good evening, councillors. At its meeting on the 18th of February, Council was required to adjourn the meeting under Section 79 of the Governance Rules to a later date and time that was not specified at the time due to disorder in the gallery. As a result of this adjournment, there were 3 council reports that were not able to be considered at the council meeting. This report is recommending that Council defers the 3 outstanding reports, being reports 5.2, 5.3 and 5.4 to the next ordinary meeting of Council scheduled for the 18th of March. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Casey. Councillors, do we have any questions for Ms Casey? No questions. Councillors, do I have a motion for the recommendation? Please raise your hand. Thank you, Councillor Pereira. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Rowe. And is there any opposition to the motion? No opposition. Would anyone else like to speak? Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Councillor Pereira, as mover, would you like to speak to the motion?
Hi, yes, just very briefly. Yes, it's a pity we had to do this because of the disorder in the gallery, and I'm hoping that the next council meeting we can actually get through the order of business so we don't have to worry about doing this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pereira. And Councillor Rowe, would you like to speak as seconder? Oh, you're just on mute, Councillor Rowe, if you're able to unmute yourself. I'll take that as waiving your rights to speak. Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Would anyone else like to speak on the motion? No, I'll now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. And those against? No against. So I'll take that motion as passed unanimously. Thank you, councillors. That decision's carried. And on that note, I'll move to item 11, which is to close this unscheduled council meeting. I declare the council meeting closed and thank members of the public for joining us by watching the live stream this evening, and thanks councillors and officers for your attendance. Have a good rest of the evening. Thank you.